Section 139 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Twilight. Over the river, in gloaming, still do ye plain? Dove, dove in the mangroves, how dear is thy pain! Sorrow, but fondled, reproaches that never upbraid, spite the passion, the yearning of love unrepaid. Teach me, oh, teach me thy cadence, that Inez may thrill with the bliss of the sadness, and love have his will. Through twilight of mild evening pale, as now returning slow they fare, in dubious keeping with the dale and legends, floating came that air from one invisible in shade. Singing and lightly sauntering on toward the cloisters, pause they made, but he a lateral way had won. Viewless he passed, as might a wave, rippling, which doth a frigate lave at anchor in the midnight road. Clarel a fleeting thought bestowed, unkenned, to thee what thoughts belong, announced by such a tropic song. End of section 139. Section 140 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Invitation. Returned to harbor, Derwent sought his Mexic friend, and him he found at home in by-place of a court of private kind. Some tools around, and planks and joiner's stuff, and more, with little things, and odds and ends, conveniences which ease commends unto some plain old bachelor. And here, indeed, one such a stay at whiles did make, a placid friar, a sexton gratis in his way, when some poor brother did require the last fraternal offices. This funeral monk, now much at ease, uncowled, upon a workbench sat, lit by a greenish earthen lamp, with crossbones baked thereon for stamp. Behind him, placed upon a mat, engaged in gossip, old men's chat, with the limb-lopped eld of Mexico, who, better to sustain him so on his one leg, had niched him all in one of some strange coffins there, a lean and open by the wall, like sentry boxes. Take a chair, Don Derwent. No, I mean, yes, take a coffin. Come, be sociable. Don Hannibal, what see I? Well, for pity's sake. Eh? This is brother Placido, and we are talking of old times, for, learn thou, that in Mexico first knew he matins and the chimes. But, come, get in, there's nothing else. 'Tis easy, here one lazy dwells, almost as in a barber's chair. See now, I lean my head. Ah, yes, but I don't feel the weariness. Thanks, no, I the bench prefer. Good brother Placido, I'm glad you found a countryman. And so for little time discourse he made, but presently, the monk away being called, proposed that they should go, he and Don Hannibal the Grey, and in refectory sit down, that talk might more convenient run. The others through the courts diverge, till all to cots conducted fare, where reveries and slumber merge, while lulling steals from many a cell a bee-like buzz of bedside prayer. Night in the hive monastical. And now, not wantonly designed, like lays in grove of Daphne sung, but helping to fulfill the peace which in these cantos finds release, appealing to the museful mind, a chord, the satyr's chord is strung. End of section 140. Section 141 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Prodigal. In adolescence thrilled by hope, which fain would verify the gleam, and find if destiny concur, how dwells upon life's horoscope, youth, always an astrologer, forecasting happiness, the dream. Slumber interred them, but not all, for so it chanced that Clarel's cell was shared by one who did repel the poppy. 'Twas a prodigal, yet pilgrim too in casual way, and seen within the grots that day, but only seen, no more than that. In years he might be Clarel's mate, not talkative, he half reclined in reverie of dreamful kind, or might the fable, the romance, be tempered by experience, for ruling under spell serene, a light precocity is seen, that mobile face, voluptuous air, no northern origin declare, but southern, where the nations bright, the costumed nations, circled be in garland round a tideless sea, eternal in its fresh delight. Nor less he owned the common day, his avocation not, in sooth, a toy of mammon, but the ray and fair aureola of youth deific makes the prosiest clay. From reverie now by Clarel won, he brief his story entered on, a native of the banks of Rhone. He travelled for a Lyon's house, which dealt in bales luxurious, detained by chance at Jaffa grey, rather than let ripe hours decay, he'd run o'er, in a freak of fun, green Sharon to Jerusalem, and thence, not far, to Bethlehem. Thy silvery voice, irreverent one, 'twas musical, and Clarel said, Greatly I err, or thou art he who singing along the hillside sped at fall of night. And heard you me? 'Twas sentimental, to be sure, a little Spanish overture, a tombez air which months ago a young Peruvian let flow. Locked friends we were, he's gone home now. To Clarel 'twas a novel style and novel nature, and a while mutely he dwelt upon him here, earnest to know how the most drear solemnity of Judah's glade affect might such a mind. He said something to purpose, but he shied. One essay more, whereat he cried, Amigo! Favored lands there are, born under such a lucky star. They weigh not things too curious, see, albeit conforming to their time and usages thereof and clime. Well, mine's that happy family. The student faltered, felt annoy, absorbed in problems ill-defined. Am I too curious in my mind? And, baffled in the vain employ, foregoing many an easy joy? That thought he hurried from, and so, unmindful in perturbed estate of that light imitation late, he said, On hills of dead Judea, wherever one may faring go, he dreams, fit place to set the bier of Jacob, brought from Egypt's mead. Here's Atad's threshing floor. Indeed? Scarce audible was that in tone, nor Clarel heard it, but went on. 'Tis Jephthah's daughter holds the height, she's the muse here. But, I pray, confess to Judah's mournful sway. He held his peace. You grant the blight? No boulevards. Do other lands show equal ravage you've beheld? Oh, yes, and eyed his emerald in ring. But here a god commands, a judgment dooms. You that gainsay? Up looked he quick, then turned away, and with a shrug that gave mute sign that here the theme he would decline. But Clarel urged, as in despair the other turned, invoked the air. Was it in such talk, Don Ravenna, we dealt in Seville, I and you? No, chat of love while and duenna and Sayamanto in Peru. Ah, good Limino, dear amigo, what times were ours, the holidays flew. Life a revel and clear allegro. But home thou'rt gone, pity, but true. At bursts so lyrical, yet given not all without some mock in leaven, once more did Clarel puzzled sit, but rallying in spite of it, continued, Surely now 'tis clear that in the aspect of Judea, my friend, it is just naught to me. Why so pertinacious be? Refrain. Here, turning light away, as quitting so the theme, how gay Damascus, orchard of a town, not yet she's heard the tidings, though. Tidings? Tidings of long ago, Isaiah's dark burden, malison. Of course, to be perpetual fate, bat, serpent, screech owl, and all that. But truth is, grace and pleasure there, in Abana and Pharpar's streams. O shady haunts, O sherbet air! So twine the place in odorous dreams. How may she think to mope and moan, the news not yet being got to town, that she's a ruin? Oh, 'tis pity, for she is earth's senior city. Pray, who was he, that man of state, whose footman at Elisha's gate loud rapped? The name has slipped. Howe'er, that Damascene maintained it well. We've better streams than Israel, yea, fairer waters. Wheatless here, Clarel betrayed half-cleric tone. Naaman, you mean, poor leper one, 'twas Jordan healed him. As you please. And hereupon the Lyonese, capricious, or inferring late that he had yielded up his state to priggish inroad, gave mute sign 'twere well to end. But Palestine, insisted Clarel, do you not concede some strangeness to her lot? Amigo, how you persecute! You all but tempt one to refute these stale megrims. You of the West, what devil has your hearts possessed? You can't enjoy? Ah, dear Ravenna, with talk of donna and duenna, you came too from that hemisphere, but freighted with quite other cheer. No pedant, no. Then, changing free, laughed with a light audacity. Well, me for one, Dame Judah here don't much depress. She's not austere. Nature has lodged her in good zone, the true wine zone of Noah. The Cape yields no such bounty of the grape. Hence took King Herod festal tone, else why the tavern cluster gilt hang out before that fane he built, the second temple. Catching thus a buoyant frolic impetus, he bowled along. Herewith agrees the ducat of the Maccabees, graved with the vine. Methinks I see the spies from Eshcol, full of glee, trip back to camp with clusters swung from jolting pole on shoulders hung. Cheer up, 'twill do, it needs befit. Lo ye, behold the fruit of it. And, tell me, does not Solomon's harp, oh, that it should have taken warp in end, confirm the festa? Here. Thy white neck is like ivory, I feed among thy lilies, dear. Stay me with flagons, comfort me with apples, thee I would enclose. Thy twin breasts are as two young roes. Clarel protested, yet as one part lamed in candor, and took tone in formal wise. Nay, pardon me, but you misdeem it. Solomon's song is allegoric, needs must be. Proof, pray, if 'tis not too long. Why, Saint Bernard— Who? Sir Bernard? Never that knight for me left card. No, Saint Bernard, 'twas he of old the song's hid import first unrolled, confirmed in every after age. The chapter headings on the page of modern Bibles, in that song, attest his rendering and prolong, a mystic burden. Eh? So too the bonze's Hafiz rhyme construe, which lodged the grape of Shiraz. See, they can't that in his frolic fire some bed-rid fakir would aspire in foggy symbols. Me, oh me, what stuff of Levite and divine! Come, look at straight things more in line, blue eyes or black, which like you best, your belladonna, how's she dressed? 'Twas very plain this sprightly youth little suspected the grave truth that he, with whom he thus made free, a student was, a student late of reverend theology, nor Clarel was displeased thereat. The other now, there is no tress can thrall one like a Jewess's. A Hebrew husband, Hebrew wed, is wondrous faithful, it is said, which needs be true. For, I suppose, as bees are loyal to the rose, so men to beauty. Of his girls, on which did the brown Indian king, Ahasuerus, shower his pearls? Why, Esther, Judah wore the ring, and Nero, captain of the world, his arm about a Jewess curled, bright spouse, Poppaea. And with good will some Christian monarchs share the thrill, in palace kneeling low before crowned Judah, like those knobs of yore. These Hebrew witches, well-a-day, of Jeremiah what reck they? Clarel looked down. Was he depressed? The prodigal resumed. Earth's best, earth's loveliest portrait, daintiest, reveals Judean grace and form. Urbino's ducal mistress fair, aye, Titian's Venus, golden warm. Her lineage languishes in air, mysterious as the unfathomed sea. That grave, deep, Hebrew coquetry, thereby Bathsheba David won. In bath a purposed bait. Have done. Blushing? The cuticle's but thin. Blushing? Yet you my mind would win. Priests make a goblin of the Jew. Shares he not flesh with me? With you? What wind was this? And yet it swayed even Clarel's cypress. He delayed all comment, gazing at him there. Then first he marked the clustering hair, which on the bright and shapely brow at middle part grew slantily low, rich, tumbled, chestnut hood of curls, like to a Polynesian girl's, who, inlaid eloping with her lover, the deacon magistrates recover, with sermon and black bread reprove, who fed on berries and on love. So young, thought Clarel, yet so knowing, with much of dubious at the heart, yet winsome in the outward showing, with whom, with what, hast thou thy part, and flaw upon the student's dream, a wafture of suspicion stirred? He spake, The Hebrew, it would seem, you study much. You have averred more than most Gentiles well may glean in voyaging mere from scene to scene of shifting traffic. Irksomeness here vecked the other's light address, but, ease assuming, gay he said, Oh, in my wanderings, why, I've met, among all kinds, Hebrews well read, and some nor dull nor bigot bred. Yes, I pick up, nor all forget. So saying, and as to be rid of further prosing, he undid his vesture, turned him, smoothed his cot. Late, needs sleep, though sleep's a sot. A word, cried Clarel, bear with me. Just nothing strange at all you see, touching the Hebrews and their lot? Recumbent here, why, yes, they share that oddity the gypsies air. About them why not make ado? The Parsees are an odd tribe too, dispersed, no country, and yet hold by immemorial rights, we're told. Amigo, do not scourge me on. Put up your monkish thong. Pray, pardon now. By peep of sun, take horse I must. Good night, with song. Lights of Shushan, if your urn mellow shed the opal ray, to delude one, damsels, turn. Wherefore tarry? Why betray? Drop your garlands and away. Leave me, phantoms that but feign. Sting me not with inklings vain. But, if magic none prevail, mocking in untrue romance, let your paradise exhale odors and enlink the dance, and, ye rosy feet, advance, till ye meet morn's ruddy hours, unabashed in Shushan's bowers. No more. They slept. A spell came down, and Clarel dreamed, and seemed to stand betwixt a Shushan and a sand. The Leonese was lord of one, the desert did the Tuscan own, the pale pure monk. A zephyr fanned, it vanished, and he felt the strain of clasping arms which would detain his heart from each ascetic range. He woke. 'Twas day. He was alone, the Leonese being up and gone. Vital he knew organic change, or felt, at least, that change was working, a subtle innovator lurking. He rose, arrayed himself, and won the roof to take the dawn's fresh air, and heard a ditty, and looked down. Whose singing rode so debonair? His cellmate, flexible young blade, mounted in rear of cavalcade, just from the gate, in rhythmic way, switching a light malacca gay. Rules? Who rules? Fools the wise, makes wise the fools. Every ruling overrules? Who the dame that keeps the house, provides the diet, and oh, so quiet, brings all to pass? The slyest mouse. Tell it me, Signora Nature, who but she? End of section 141. Section 142 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. By Parapet. Well may ye gaze, what's good to see, better than Adam's humanity when genial lodged. Such spell is given, it lured the staid grandees of heaven, though biased in their souls divine, much to one side, the feminine. He is the pleasantest small fellow. It was the early rising priest, who up there in the morning mellow had followed Clarel. Not the least of pleasures here which I have known is meeting with that laxer one. We talked below, but all the while my thoughts were wandering away, though never once mine eyes did stray. He did so pleasingly beguile to keep them fixed upon his form. Such harmony pervades his warm, soft outline. Why now, what a scare of incredulity you speak from eyes! But it was some such fair young sinner in the time antique suggested to the happy Greek his form of Bacchus, the sweet shape. Young Bacchus, mind ye, not the old. The Egyptian ere he crushed the grape. But how? And homesick are you? Come, what's in your thoughts, pray? Wherefore mum? So Derwent, though but ill he sped, Clarel declining to be led or cheered, nor less in covert way that talk might have an after sway beyond the reverie which ran, half-heeded now, or dim. This man, may Christian true such temper wish? His happiness seems paganish. End of section 142. Section 143 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. David's Well. The Lyonnese had joined a train whereof the man of scars was one whose office led him further on, and barring longer stay. Farewell, he overnight had said, ere cell he sought for slumber. Brief the word, no hand he grasped, yet he was stirred. Despite his will, in heart at core, 'twas countrymen he here forsook, he felt it, and his aspect wore, in the last parting, that strange look of one enlisted for sad fight upon some desperate, dark shore, who bids adieu to the civilian, returning to his clubhouse bright, in city cheerful with the million. But nature never heedeth this. To nature nothing is amiss. It was a morning full of vent and bustle. Other pilgrims went. Later, accoutred in array, Don Hannibal and party sate in saddle at the convent gate, for Hebron bound. Ah, well a day! I'm bolstered up here, tucked away, my spare spar lashed behind, ye see. This crutch for scepter, come to me, embrace me, my dear friend. And Lent, I'm off for Mamre, under oak of Abraham I'll pitch my tent, perchance, far from the battle's smoke. Good friars and friends, behold me here, a poor one-legged pioneer. I go, I march, I am the man in forefront of the limping van of refluent emigration. So, farewell, Don Derwent, Placido, farewell, and God bless all and keep. Start, dragoman, come, take your sheep to Hebron. One among the rest, attending the departure there, was Clarel. Unto him, oppressed, in travail of transition rare, scarce timely in its unconstraint, was the droll Mexican's quirkish air and humorous turn of hintings quaint. The group dispersed, pleased by the hill and vale, the minster, grot and vine. Hardly the pilgrims found the will to go and such fair scene decline. But not less Bethlehem, avow, negative grew to him whose heart, swayed by love's nearer magnet now, would fain without delay depart. Yet comradeship did still require that some few hours need yet expire. Restive, he sallied out alone, and, ere long, place secluded one, and there a well. The spot he eyed, for fountains in that land, being rare, attention fix, and, yes, he sighed, weighing the thing, though everywhere this vicinage quite altered be. The well of Jesse's son I see, for this in parched Adullam's lair how sore he yearned. Ah me, that one would now upon me wait with that sweet water by the gate. He stood, but who will bring to me that living water which who drinks he thirsteth not again? Let be, a thirst that long may anguish thee, too long ungratified will die. But whither now, my heart? Wouldst fly each thing that keepeth not the pace of common uninquiring life? What, fall back on clay commonplace? Yearnest for peace so, sick of strife? Yet how content thee with routine worldly? How mix with tempers keen and narrow like the knife? How live at all, if once a fugitive from thy own nobler part, though pain be portion inwrought with the grain? But here, in fair accosting word, a stranger's happy hail he heard, descending from a vineyard nigh. He turned, a pilgrim pleased his eye, a Muscovite, late seen by shrine, good to behold, fresh as a pine, elastic, tall, complexion clear as dawn in frosty atmosphere, rose-tinged. They greet. At once, to reach accord, the Russian said, "Sit here. You sojourn with the Latin set, I with the Greeks, but well we're met. All's much the same, many waves, one beach. I'm mateless now, one and but one I've taken to, and he's late gone. You may have crossed him, for indeed he tarried with your Latin breed, while here, a juicy little fellow, a seckle pear, so small and mellow. We shared a cell last night. Ye did? And, doubtless, into chat ye slid. The theme, now, I am curious there. Judea, the Jews. With heightened air the Russ rejoined, "And tell me, pray, who broached the topic? He?" "No, I." And chary he in grudged reply at first, but afterward gave way. "Indeed?" The Russ with meaning smile. But, further, did he aught revile? The Jews, he said, were misconceived. Much too he dropped which quite bereaved the scripture of its runic spell. But runic, said I? That's not well. I alter, sure. Not marking here Clarel in his self-taxing cheer, but full of his own thoughts in clue. Right, I was right, the other cried. Evade he cannot, no, nor hide. Learn, he who wiled the hour for you, his race supplied the theme, a Jew. Clarel leaped up. And can it be? Some vague suspicion peered in me. I sought to test, and he... Nay, now I mind me of a stir of color quick, and might it touch? And paused. Then, as in slight demur, his cast of Hebrew is not much, enough to badge him. Very well, but why should he the badge repel? Our Russian sheep still hate the mark. They try to rub it off, nor cease on hedge or briar to leave the fleece in telltale tags. Well, much so he, averse to Aaron's cipher dark and mystical. Society is not quite Catholic, you know, retains some prejudices yet, likes not the singular, and so he'd melt in, nor be separate, exclusive. And I see no blame. Nor rare thing is it in French Jew, cast among strangers, travelling too, to cut old grandsire Abraham as out of mode. I talked, ere you, with this our friend. Let me avow my late surmise is surety now. They strolled, and parted, and amain confirmed the student felt the reign of reveries vague, which yet could mar, crossed by a surging element, surging while aiming at content, so combs the billow ere it breaks upon the bar. End of section 143. Section 144 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Night Ride. It was the day preceding Lent, Shrove Tuesday named in English old, forefathers English, and content some yet would tarry to behold the initiatory nocturne rite. 'Twas the small hour, as once again, and final now, in mounted plight they curve about the Bethlehem urn, or vine-clad hollow of the swain, and Clarel felt in every vein, at last, Jerusalem! 'Twas thence they started, thither they return, rounding the waste circumference. Now Bellex in his reverie light rolls up and down those guineas bright, whose minted recompense shall chink in pouch of sash when travel's brink of end is won. Jalea in face wears an abstraction, lit by grace which governed hopes of rapture lend. On coins his musings likewise bend, the starry sequins woven fair into black tresses, but an heir considerate and prudent reigns. For his the love not vainly sure, 'tis passion deep of man mature for one who half a child remains. Yes, underneath a look sedate, what throbs are known, but desolate upon the pilgrim strangely fall eclipses heavier far than come to hinds, which, after carnival, return to toil and querulous home. Revert, did they? In mind recall their pilgrimage, yes, some it all. Could Siddim haunt them, Saba's bay? Did the deep nature in them say, two are missing, laid away in deserts twin? They let it be, nor spake. The candor of the heart shrank from suspected counterpart. But one there was, and Clarel he, who, in his aspect free from cloud, here caught a gleam from source unspied, as cliff may take on mountainside. When there one small brown cirque ye see, lit up in mole, how mellowly, day going down in sombre shroud, October pall. But tell the vein of new emotion, inly held, that so the long contention quelled, languor and indecision, pain. Was it abrupt resolve, a strain wiser than wisdom's self might teach? Yea, now his hand would boldly reach and pluck the nodding fruit to him, fruit of the tree of life. If doubt spin spider-like her tissue out and make a snare in reason dim, why hang a fly in flimsy web? One thing was clear, one thing in sooth, stays not the prime of June or youth. At flood that tide makes haste to ebb. Recurred one mute appeal of Ruth, now first aright construed, he thought. She seemed to fear for him, and say, "Ah, tread not, sweet, my father's way, in whom this evil spirit wrought, and dragged us hither where we die." Yes, now would he forsake that road, alertly now and eager high, to dame and daughter, where they trod the Dolorosa, quick to part with them and seek a happier sky. Warblings he heard of hope in heart, responded to by duty's hymn. He, late but weak, felt now each limb in strength how buoyant. But, in truth, was part caprice, sally of youth? What pulse was this with burning beat? Whence the passion that could give feathers to thought, yea, Mercury's feet? The Lyonnese, to sense so dear, nor less from faith a fugitive, had he infected Clarel here? But came relapse. What end may prove? Ah, almoner to Saba's dove. Ah, bodeful text of hermit rhyme. But what? Distrust the trustful eyes? Are the sphered breasts full of mysteries which not the maiden's self may know? May love's nice balance, finely slight, take tremor from fulfilled delight? Can nature such a doom dispense as, after ardor's tender glow, to make the rapture more than pall with evil secrets in the sense, and guile whose bud is innocence, sweet blossom of the flower of gall? Nay, nay, ah! God, keep far from me cursed Manes and the Manichee. At large here life proclaims the law. unto embraces myriads draw through sacred impulse. Take thy wife, venture, and prove the soul of life, and let fate drive. So he the while, in shadow from the ledges thrown, as down the Bethlehem hill they file, abreast upon the plain anon advancing. Far, in upland spot, a light is seen in Rama paling, but Clarel sped, and heeded not, at least recalled not Rachel wailing. Aside they win a fountain clear, the cistern of the kings, so named because, as vouched, the Magi here watered their camels, and reclaimed the ray, brief hid. Ere this they passed, Clarel looked in and there saw glassed, down in the wave, one mellow star. Then, glancing up, beheld afar, enisled serene, the orb itself, apt auspice here for journeying elf. And now those skirting slopes they tread, which devious bar the sunken bed of Hinnom. Thence uplifted shone in hauntedness the deicide town, faint silvered. Gates, of course, were barred, but at the further eastern one, St. Stephen's, there the turbaned guard, to Belex known, at whispered word would ope. Thither, the nearer way, by Jeremy's grot, they shun that ground, for there an Ottoman camp's array deters. Through Hinnom now they push their course round Zion by the glen toward Rogel, whither shadowy rush, and where, at last, in cloud convene, ere, one, they sweep to gloomier hush. Those two black chasms which enfold Jehovah's height, flanking the well, Ophel they turn, and gain the dell of Shaveh. Here the city old, fast locked in torpor, fixed in blight, no hum sent forth, revealed no light, though, facing it, cliff-hung Siloam, sepulchral hamlet, showed in tomb a twinkling lamp. The valley slept, obscure, in monitory dream oppressive, roofed with awful skies, whose stars like silver nail-heads gleam, which stud some lid over lifeless eyes. End of section 144. Section 145 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Valley of Decision. Delay! Shall flute from forth the gate issue to warble welcome here, upon this safe returning wait in gratulation? And, for cheer, when in they gain, there shall they see the door-post wreathed? Howe'er it be, through Clarel a revulsion ran, such as may seize debarking man, first hearing on Coquimbo's ground that subterranean sullen sound which dull foreruns the shock. His heart, an augury fair arrested here, upbraided him. Fool, and didst part from Ruth? Strangely a novel fear obtruded, petty, and yet worse, and more from reason too averse, than that recurrent haunting bier molesting him erewhile, and yet it was but irritation, fret. Misgiving that the lines he writ upon the eve before the start for Siddim failed, or were unfit, came short of the occasion's tone, to leave her in grief's smart, to leave her, the stricken one, now first to feel full force of it. Away, to be but there, vain goadings, yet of love true part. But then the pledge with letter sent, though but a trifle, still might bear a token in dumb argument, expressive more than words. With knee straining against the saddle brace, he urges on, till, near the place of Hebrew graves, a light they see, moving, and figures dimly trace some furtive strange society. Yet nearer as they ride, the light shuts down. Abide, enjoined the Druze. Waylayers these are none, but Jews, or I mistake, who here by night have stolen to do grave-diggers' work. During late outbreak in the town, the bigot in the baser Turk was so inflamed, some Hebrews dread assault, even here among their dead. Abide a space, let me ride on. Up pushed he, spake, allayed the fright of them who had shut down the light at sound of comers. Close they draw, advancing, lit by fan-shaped rays shot from a small dark lantern's jaw, presented pistol-like. They saw mattocks and men in outline dim, on either ominous side of him for whom went forth that point of blaze. Resting from labor, each one stays his implement on gravestones old. New dug, between these, they behold 2 narrow pits, and, nor remote, twin figures on the ground they note, folded in cloaks. And who rest there? Rolf sidelong asked. Our friends, have care, replied the one that held in view the lantern, slanting it a shift, plainer disclosing them, and, too, a broidered scarf, love's first chance gift. The students, which how well he knew, binding one mantle's slender span. With piercing cry, as one distraught, down from his horse leaped Clarel, ran, and hold of that cloak instant caught, and bared the face. Then, like a man shot through the heart, but who retains his posture, rigid he remains. The mantle's border in his hand, his glazed eyes unremoved. The band of Jews, the pilgrims, all look on, shocked or amazed. But speech he won. No, yes, enchanted here. Her name? Ruth, Nathan's daughter, said a Jew, who kenned him now, the youth that came oft to the close. But thou, forbear, the dawn's at hand, and haste is due. See, by her side, 'tis Agar there. Ruth? Agar? Art thou God? But ye... All swims, and I but blackness see. How happened it? Speak. The fever, grief, 'twere hard to tell, was no relief. And ye, your tribe, 'twas ye denied me access to the Virgin's side in bitter trial. Take my curse, O blind, blind, barren universe! Now am I like a bough torn down, and I must wither, cloud or sun. Had I been near, this had not been. Do spirits look down upon this scene? The message, some last word was left? For thee? No, none. The life was reft sudden from Ruth, and Agar died babbling of gulls and ocean wide, out of her mind. And here's the furl of Nathan's faith, then perish faith. 'Tis perjured. Take me, death. Where Ruth is gone, me thither whirl, where'er it be. Ye do outgo mad Korah. Boy, this is the dale of doom, God's last assizes, so curb thee, even if sharp grief assail. Respect these precincts, lest thou know an ill. Give way, quit thou our dead, menaced another, striding out. Art thou of us? Turn thee about. Spurn, I'll endure. All spirits fled when one fears nothing. Bear with me, yet bear. Conviction is not gone, though faith's gone. That which shall not be still ought to be. But here came on, with heavy footing, hollow herd, Hebrews, which bear rude slabs, to place athwart the bodies when interred, that earth should weigh not on the face, for coffin was there none, and all was makeshift in this funeral. Uncouthly here a Jew began to readjust Ruth's cloak. Amain did Clarel push him, and in hiss, Not thou, for me, alone, alone in such bride chamber to lie down. Nay, leave one hand out, like to this, so that the bridegroom may not miss to kiss it first, when soon he comes. But 'tis not she, and hid his face. They laid them in the underglooms, each pale one in her portioned place. The gravel from the bank raked down, dull sounded on those slabs of stone, grave answering grave, dull and more dull, each mass growing more, till either pit was full. As up from Kedron dumb they drew, then first the shivering Clarel knew night's damp. The martyr's port is won, Stephen's, harsh grates the bolt withdrawn, and, over Olivet, comes on Ash Wednesday in the grey of dawn. End of section 145. Section 146 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Dirge. Stay, death, not mine the Christus wand, wherewith to change thee and command. I plead, most gently hold the hand of her thou leadest far away. Fear thou to let her naked feet tread ashes, but let mosses sweet her footing tempt, where'er ye stray. Shun Orcus, when the moonlit land belulled, the silent meadows lone, where never any leaf is blown from lily stem in Azrael's hand. There, till her love rejoin her lowly, pensive, a shade, but all her own, on honey feed her, wild and holy, or trance her with thy choicest charm, and if, ere yet the lovers free, some added dusk thy rule decree, that shadow only let it be, thrown in the moon glade by the palm. End of section 146. Section 147 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Passion Week. Day passed, and passed a second one, a third, fourth, fifth, and bound he sate in film of sorrow without moan, abandoned in the stony strait of mutineer thrust on wild shore, hearing, beyond the roller's froth, the last dip of the parting oar, alone, for all had left him so, though Rolf, Vine, Derwent, each was loath, how loath to leave him, or to go be first. From Vine he caught new sense, developed through fate's pertinence. Friendly they tarried, blameless went, life, avaricious, still demands her own, and more. The world is rent with partings. But, since all are gone, why lingers he, the stricken one? Why linger where no hope can be? Ask grief, love ask, fidelity in dog that by the course abides of shepherd fallen. Abides, though autumn into winter glides, till on the mountain all is chill and snowbound, and the twain lie still. How oft through Lent the feet were led of this chastised and fasting one to neutral silence of the dead in Kedron's gulf. One morn he sate, downpouring toward it from the gate sealed and named Golden. There a tomb, erected in time's recent day, in block along the threshold lay, impassable. From Omar's bloom came birds which lit, nor dreamed of harm, on neighboring stones. His visage calm seemed not the one which late showed play of passion's throe, but here divine no peace. Ignition in the mine announced is by the rush, the roar. These end, yet may the coal burn on, still slumberous burn beneath the floor of pastures where the sheep lie down. Ere long a cheerful choral strain he hears. 'Tis an Armenian train, embowered in palms they bear, which, green and shifting oft, reveal the mien of flamens tall and singers young in festal robes. A rainbow throng, like dolphins off Madeira seen, which quick the ship and shout dismay. With the blest anthem censers sway, whose opal vapor, spiral borne, blends with the heaven's own azure morn of palms, for 'twas Palm Sunday bright, though thereof he, oblivious quite, knew nothing, nor that here they came in memory of the green acclaim triumphal, and Hosanna roll, which hailed him on the ass's foal. But unto Clarel that bright view into a dusk reminder grew. He saw the tapers, saw again the censers, singers, and the wreath and litter of the bride of death pass through the broken fountain's lane. In treble shrill and bass how deep the men and boys he heard again the undetermined contest keep about the beer Armenian. Yet dull and torpor dim he knew the futile omen in review. Yet 3 more days, and leadenly from over Mary's port and arch, on Holy Thursday he the march of friars beheld, with litany filing beneath his feet, and bent with crosses craped to sacrament, down in the glenned Gethsemane. Yes, Passion Week, the altars cower, each shrine a dead dismantled bower. But when Good Friday dirged her gloom, ere break the morning, and each light round Calvary faded, and the tomb, what exhalations met his sight! Illusion of grief's wakeful doom. The dead walked. There, amid the train, white Nehemiah he saw again, with charnel beard, and Celio passed as in a dampened mirror glassed. Gleamed Mortmain, pallid as wolf bone which bleaches where no man hath gone, and Nathan in his murdered guise, sullen, and Hades in his eyes, poor Agar, with such wandering mien as in her last blank hour was seen. And each and all kept lonely state, yea, man and wife passed separate. But Ruth, ah, how estranged in face! He knew her by no earthly grace, nor might he reach to her in place, and languid vapors from them go, like thaw fogs curled from dankish snow. Where now he who helpeth us, the Comforter? Tell, Erebus. End of section 147. Section 148 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Easter. But on the 3rd day Christ arose, and in the town he knew the rite commemorative eager goes before the hour. Upon the night between the week's last day and first, no more the Stabat is dispersed or Tenebrae, and when the day, the Easter, falls in calendar the same to Latin and the array of all schismatics from afar, Armenians, Greeks from many a shore, Syrians, Copts, profusely pour the hymns. 'Tis like the choric gush of torrents alpine when they rush to swell the anthem of the spring. That year was now. Throughout the fane, floor, and arcades in double ring about the gala of the tomb, blazing with lights, behung with bloom, what childlike thousands roll the strain, the Hallelujah after pain, which in all tongues of Christendom still through the ages has rehearsed that best, the outcome of the worst. Nor blame them who by lavish rite thus greet the pale victorious sun, since nature times the same delight, and rises with the emerging one. Her Passion Week, her winter mood, she slips with crape from off the rood, in soft rich shadow under dome, with gems and robes repletely fine, the priests like birds Brazilian shine, and moving tapers charm the sight, enkindling the curled incense fume, a dancing ray, auroral light. Burn on the hours, and meet the day. The morn invites, the suburbs call the concourse to come forth, this way. Out from the gate by Stephen's wall they issue, dot the hills, and stray in bands, like sheep among the rocks, and the good shepherd in the heaven, to whom the charge of these is given, the Christ, counts he there his flocks? But they, at each suburban shrine, grateful adore that friend benign, though chapel now and cross divine too frequent show neglected. Nay, for charities of early rains rim them about with vernal stains, forerunners of maturer May, when those red flowers, which so can please Christ's blood drops named anemones, spot Ephraim and the mountain way. But heart bereft is unrepaid, though Thammuz's spring in Thammuz's glade invite. Then how in Joel's glen? What if dyed shawl and bodice gay make bright the black dell? What if they in distance clear diminished be to seeming cherries dropped on Paul born graveward under laden tree? The cheer, so human, might not call the maiden up. Christ is arisen, but Ruth, may Ruth so burst the prison? The rite supreme being ended now, their confluence here the nations part. Homeward the tides of pilgrims flow, by contrast making the walled town like a depopulated mart, more like some kirk on weekday lone, on whose void benches broodeth still the brown light from November hill. But though the freshet quite be gone, sluggish life's wonted stream flows on. End of section 148. Section 149 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Via Crucis. Some leading thoroughfares of man in woodpath, track, or trail began. Though threading heart of proudest town, they follow in controlling grade a hint or dictate, nature's own, by man as by the brute, obeyed. Within Jerusalem a lane, narrow, nor less an artery main, though little knoweth it of din, in parts suggests such origin, the restoration or repair, successive through long ages there, of city upon city tumbled, might scarce divert that thoroughfare, whose hill abideth yet unhumbled above the valley side it meets. Pronounce its name, this natural streets, the Via Crucis, even the way tradition claims to be the one trod on that Friday far away by him our pure exemplar shown. 'Tis Whitsuntide. From paths without, through Stephen's gate, by many a vein convergent brought within this lane, ere sundown shut the loiterer out, as 'twere a frieze, behold the train. Bowed water-carriers, Jews with staves, infirm grey monks, overloaded slaves, Turk soldiers, young, with homesick eyes, a bay, bereaved through luxuries, strangers and exiles, Moslem dames, long veiled in monumental white, dumb from the mounds which memory claims, a half-starved vagrant Edomite, sore-footed Arab girls, which toil depressed under heap of garden spoil, the patient ass with panniered urn, sour camels humped by heaven and man, whose languid necks through habit turn for ease they hardly gain. In varied forms of fate they wend, or man or animal, 'tis one, cross-bearers all, alike they tend and follow, slowly follow on. But, lagging after, who is he, called early every hope to test, and now, at close of rarer quest, finds so much more the heavier tree? From slopes whence even echoes gone, wending, he murmurs in low tone, they wire the world, far under sea they talk, but never comes to me a message from beneath the stone. Dusked Olivet he leaves behind, and, taking now a slender wind, vanishes in the obscurer town. End of section 149. Section 150 of Clarel by Herman Melville. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Epilogue. If Luther's day expand to Darwin's year, shall that exclude the hope, foreclose the fear? Unmoved by all the claims our times avow, the ancient Sphinx still keeps the porch of shade, and comes despair, whom not her calm may cow, and coldly on that adamantine brow scrawls undeterred his bitter pasquinade. But faith, who from the scrawl indignant turns, with blood warm oozing from her wounded trust, inscribes even on her shards of broken urns the sign of the cross, the spirit above the dust. Yea, ape and angel, strife and old debate, the harps of heaven and dreary gongs of hell, science the feud can only aggravate, no umpire she betwixt the chimes and knell. The running battle of the star and clod shall run forever, if there be no God. Degrees we know, unknown in days before. The light is greater, hence the shadow more. And tantalized and apprehensive man, appealing, wherefore ripen us to pain, seems there the spokesman of dumb nature's train. But through such strange illusions have they passed, who in life's pilgrimage have baffled striven. Even death may prove unreal at the last, and Stoics be astounded into heaven. Then keep thy heart, though yet but ill resigned. Clarel, thy heart, the issues there but mind, that like the crocus budding through the snow, that like a swimmer rising from the deep, that like a burning secret which doth go even from the bosom that would hoard and keep, emerge thou mayst from the last whelming sea, and prove that death but routs life into victory. The End. End of section 150. End of Clarel by Herman Melville.